All right, we're back. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep working on this guy. I added a few details and stuff on the body, just kind of as this goes. Still working with alphas. And I'm going to kind of work with getting the area with the claws and everything kind of worked in a little bit better. So I'm actually going to turn on the claws and then just kind of do a little bit of proportional work, which means I'm going to drop down the resolution on the main body. And that's going to give me an easier mesh to work with for a moment. There we go. Just kind of wrapping the thumb around that claw a little bit better. So it doesn't look like it's just kind of like stuck in there. I want it to look like it actually is, is evolved to have that in there. Evolved to have that claw shape, essentially. And kind of looking at some of the pictures from those eagles and other stuff, other birds of prey, thickening out those fingers a little bit, and maybe smooth off the top, so it kind of makes it look a little bit more muscular. And just using the move brush, going in, checking, moving around continuously, like looking at it from different portion or different places or viewports. Just checking everything. Now, it would be worth pointing out, proportionally speaking, I feel the thumb actually is a bit high. If you look at your thumb and then spread the fingers out and put the fingers together, kind of like your paddles, like making a paddle. Your thumb, the tip of the thumb comes up about halfway up the first digit's joint. I kind of feel like this one might be just a bit long. Granted, it's an alien, so there could be different proportions and stuff. I feel like that is just a bit long. And also, the hands overall are big, anyways. Especially with the claws kind of adding a little bit of to them. So they are kind of like, if you look at the distance from like here to the tip of the middle finger, that's about the same distance as the uh, lower forearm. So actually, it's maybe a little bit of an issue. So I'm actually going to subdivision level one more. Let's see if I could just shrink down that hand just a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm fading this just a little bit. The mask using control, and then I'm tapping on the mesh. I'm gonna do my move tool, and I'm actually gonna, I'm just gonna shrink it down just a little bit. It's gonna move inwards like that. Let's just move it back. So right about there. Yeah, that could work. Just a little bit smaller. Okay. These guys. I'm just replacing the pivot point for these guys. Let's just let's shrink it. Okay. Oops. I need just to mask off all of this. The nice thing is that since I'm having subdivision levels, me doing the scaling here does not actually affect the detail on the higher resolution level. So once I jump it back up, it'll be perfectly fine. I'd say that's pretty close. And I could just go in and we just independently just position each one of these. Oops. Holding down Alt so I can move my pivot point. And yeah, that looks good. And the size of the hand looks a little better too. It's a little more natural. It'll still be big, but that's the idea. Switch back over here. So what we can do also is kind of play around with some of this. I feel like this is kind of some of the thighs. Also gonna kind of thin it out just a little tad. And the nice thing about having subdivision levels is you can play with the proportions really easily and kind of fix things as you need to. A little bit. Let's see what it looks like. We got 1 million. Okay, looks good. I'm gonna take it down to 2, and I'm just gonna real quickly just kind of add in some mass in some of these places over here, because I feel like honestly we just need to. Like he's got a lot of muscle on his stuff, but like, we don't need it to be anemic. I'm just gonna fill on some of these more gaunt areas on his body. More natural. just kind of adding in and then smoothing. So see, we're still keeping the form, we're just kind of smoothing it out a little bit. And then one of the things I wanted to do was on the tail. So a lot of like monitors and larger lizards, their tails have a bit of a pinch on the top and the bottom. I think they're used as like for like swimming or something. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a pinch. Kind of maybe thicken this up a little bit. Do a little bit of high polish. Trying to kind of even out this top part right here. Right here too. There we go. Smooth that out and go in and kind of polish it up. Back to the foot build up. Put up a few areas right here. Just a little bit right there. Go ahead and jump up to subdivision 6. And I can work more on some scales. And we should be getting close to finishing this up. And then we'll move on to retopologization and Zbrush and then in Maya. So I have some extra scales that I've been working on right through here. Some platelets, I guess you could say. So with here, I was just kind of using clay buildup and clay tubes to kind of like knock out some shapes. So kind of the intensity, it's going pretty heavy for my taste. So I'm going a little on these scales. I'm going a little bit heavier on the back side, so it kind of lifts them up a little bit more. And then I'm going a little bit easier on the front. On the basically where it's going to be subducting under the scale in front of it. And just kind of building them up bit by bit. So I'm not adding much detail right now. I'm just kind of sketching the shape of these in, just getting them in fairly quickly. But I'm kind of thinking of like alligator scoots while I'm doing this. And then as these go a little bit further down, the shape kind of changes. It gets a little bit. Just a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less as we get further and further down. So finally we just have one that goes down. And then for the, let's go back over to standard brush. And let's get a little bigger. Just kind of just start adding on just generic scales. A little bit heavier maybe. You may hear my son. He just woke up from his nap. My wife is probably feeding him right now. So make sure we just kind of go over the entire body. Put that scale texture all over it. You know, if it's something like a human or a mammal, you know, there's going to be a skin texture that goes on it. So it's not just, you know, just because it's not reptilian doesn't mean it can't have some sort of skin texture on it. And a little bit smaller. There it is. Just trying to get every crevice we can. Switch it over to drag rectangle. And make sure we have our backfill mask turned on. So I saw some of these spots we were having some of this come through. And honestly, the larger the scale pattern, you know, the better it pretty much looks because it's easier to discern. You know, a certain scale it just kind of just turns into noise. So like this is kind of hard to see what it is. When you get something like that size, it's a little easier. But I would be cognizant though of, like, you know, what size you're using for other parts of the body, so you're not going too crazy. Like that might be a little bit heavy, but maybe something like that. Also gives you some nice visual places to kind of look. let's take a look at some of the other alphas we have. So if I go into scale skin, I do want to do something nice for the belly. Like a different kind of texture in there. Let's see. So okay. So this one actually comes off of a turtle shell. This one's kind of neat, but I'm kind of looking for some, which I actually want to use this for the big scales on the back. But I was thinking of something like snake skin, or snakes have like a scale that goes down their belly, like a wide scale. Maybe something like that. How that looks. I have to go a bit heavier than that. So, yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe just honestly just smooth out some of this. It's going to be crunchy in these areas. Let's try connecting that dragon skin. Ugh, way too heavy. Turn that Z intensity down. There we go. Okay. So do that. You can see the edge of the alpha is right here, so we kind of want to hide that a little bit. Try not to make it look too obvious. I'm just going to smooth out some of this. I'm just going to bring in another one. So it'll kind of merge in a little bit more. One tool you may want to take a look at is layers. This is kind of neat though, because you can use layers to basically sculpt, and then you can change how that affects the overall look. So I don't think this thing works. Yeah, it doesn't like to work with stuff with subdivisions. You have to actually go to your highest subdivision level. So we would need to go to 7. And I'm going to save it before I start using it. So it can get a little bit janky, but it's kind of neat though, because you can kind of use it a little bit like Photoshop. And that you can kind of blend layers down and work with them in different ways, which is pretty nice. Okay. So we'll say, let's go back over to layers. I'm going to smooth out this just a little bit. see a 67 million might be a little tough to kind of smooth some of this out. Before I do the layers, I actually do want to kind of smooth this out a little bit more. So let me do, well, you know what, screw it. Let's keep it. I'm going to add a layer, just click the little plus button, and you'll see this highlight. Once it adds, again, 67 million, it's quite a bit. And you'll see it says record. When it says record, it means it's adding to the layer, which is what we want. So let's do, let's do that tortoise that we saw. Actually, let's do, I'm gonna mask off some of this area so we can kind of work with it. Change it over to brush. There we go. Kind of. All right. So Zbrush froze on me, so I had to restart it. So I lost basically all that work I was just going over. So always make sure you save your stuff quickly. So I'm going to run a quick save. So sadly, I think I lost a fair amount. I lost basically a lot of the skin texturing I was doing. So, but it's okay. Honestly, that's not something that's takes too long to fix. So let it save. And then let's talk about the layers. Okay. Just save it manually real quick. Okay, so again, back down to layers. Let's create a new layer. And so again, the point of this is to give us some sort of controllability in how we basically work with the sculpting, okay? Or painting, or really whatever. We can kind of blend layers and turn them on, turn them off, strengthen them, weaken them, whatever you really want to do. Say, for example, if you wanted to sculpt in some plates. So we'll do maybe some clay buildup, or let's just do clay, go back to clay tubes. We'll say if I want to start sculpting. Let's run this down. Maybe we want to put in this whole plate like here. And we'll put in another one. Put another one over here. Another one over here. Another one over here. Okay. So let's say we wanted to kind of pull that down. We change it from a value of 1 over here. We can actually change that to, let's actually turn off recording, and we can pull it down to like a 0.5 or something, and what you'll see is the sculpting will go down. And so you'll see if you pull it down, it basically disappears. If we go back to, also if we turn the eyeball off, it disappears too. Let me turn the eyeball back on. And you'll see how so that one got put into a negative value. Actually, we'll reverse it. And let me see if I can get my keyboard up. And it just crashed. Hang on a second. Okay, so I think an issue I was having was that my computer was not actually plugged in. It was running off entirely on battery. That can cause a lot of issues. So I would not recommend doing heavy 3D work on a laptop or that does not have a is not plugged in. Reason why is when it's not plugged in, a lot of times the CPU is actually throttled to conserve power. So let's see if that's what's happening. I feel like that might be what's happening. It's been acting a little bit faster since I plugged it in. Okay, so let's just say like that's one plate that we're doing on this new layer. So if I turn off recording, you'll see we have an option to turn it off and on visibility wise. And then, like I said, we can bring it up and down if we need to. So let's see if we I want to hit keyboard. Let's do like 0.5 and hit enter. And it should bring that value down. There we go. And then if we do 0.75, you'll see it comes back up. And then you can go back to point, or you go just go back to 1. Actually, I think you can go to above 1, like 2, if you want to pop it up real high. But I honestly don't use this terribly often. One of the reasons is basically what you're seeing is it tends to be fairly computing intensive. So I'm not usually one to kind of mess around with it, but I do see use in it. The fact that you can go in and sculpt and then like do stuff on layers, add layers, remove layers. Um, it's really useful if you know what you're playing around with, what you're trying to go for. Um, it's 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 pretty cool. It's very useful in that regard. So I just wanted to make sure you guys know about it. Okay. If you want to get rid of a layer, hit that and delete layer. There we go, and that's done. Okay. Um, maybe some additional scales right here. So re-import those scales again. Okay. Let's do drive rectangle. There we go. Go and mask off the area that I don't want. Mask off this area. Mask off this. This. Okay. I can drop it down to 16 million to get it work a little better. But, add in some scaling. Throwing it on there. Let's do something with these scales. Let's cut this down to 4. I'm kind of thinking about pulling them out a little bit. Brush, and I'm also going to grab a snake hook. Okay. I'm thinking move brush mainly just to kind of give us a little bit more definition to some of these. Let's try a little bit. Let's do mask, a little bit bigger. Okay. Big one, and then we can have some smaller ones that can follow. So some of these might get pulled out a little bit more than others. And just some facial features, basically, like a beard. Okay. Very, like, here just to kind of divide these scales, so I can kind of maybe get them to overlap a little bit. Oh, excuse me. Just a little bit. So I guess I'm just going to kind of overlap a little bit with this one. This one. Yes. I'm just masking the ones, just kind of working my way up from back up so I can more easily overlap these. See, I got this layered scale pattern to use. It's kind of going on the head. I don't think enough. Overlap each other, but I kind of maybe just want them to be more plate-like. So maybe just a little bit more, I don't know, present. Smooth it. I feel like this snake with brush and kind of get away from me just a little bit. I'm not careful. Let's try that again. Try that. Let's go back to move. It's kind of like not really following the same angle as the brow horn, so pulling that out just a little bit more so they're kind of following that. That's kind of how you might approach doing some larger manual feature scales, things like that. We'll, do standard around them. So I need to go up a little bit in subdivision level. Let's save it. Intense. Down. Going around just tracing that home. And then I can just outlining these scales. Now for each one of these, you go in with a pinch and kind of pinch up the edges. You could flatten them a little bit, polish them, high polish them if you wanted. Kind of just spinning them for the look you want. I don't really address what I want to do at the top of the head. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'm thinking of maybe something kind of like a pachycephalosaurus, where it has like a big bone plate on top. I'm just going to kind of work in some scales here. And I'm kind of thinking like looking at those fossils, also looking at like the heads of like snakes, stuff like that. They build up on that. give like each one a little bit of definition. Something maybe kind of like that. Gives that a little bit of definition, kind of covers the skull. Lightly smooth it out. Venom. Trim off and shape some of these pieces in here. A little bit more definition. And then you can also flip the dam standard to actually add ridges. It's kind of cool. It's nice to kind of like reinforce edges, flipping that over. Oh, you could do this forever. All right. So you know what? I think honestly that kind of will call it done. I got a video on eyeballs that you guys can take a look at. I haven't addressed eyeballs in here. They're still just spheres. But if you watch that video, you'll see how I approach them. So take a look at that and see what you think. I think that pretty much finishes the main body. Only other thing might be clothing. And there's actually new, in ZBrush 2021, there's actually some new tools in the dynamics section for setting options or setting clothing in here. So if you want to do clothing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some videos that talk about that. But I'll make a little short video on how I do a real basic like shirt and pants and show you how I go about that. But I'll find some videos for a little more advanced work, because the dynamics stuff is pretty neat though, because you can actually like hang a shirt off the body or hang pants off the body. That actually wasn't around before. So in case you wanted to do that, yeah. So anyway, yeah. I'm gonna go and stop this video and we will do another one.